If you look carefully, that is also called cross dehydrogenative coupling reaction and abbreviated as CDC, in which you can see that only two hydrogens are there and you have an oxidant. If it is oxidant is oxygen, this two hydrogen goes and byproduct is only water, and you are going to form the simple R dash R dash. This is where you are going to construct CC bond. But the advantage here is it does not require pre-functionality starting material. For example, if you want to make a CC bond, you know that if you want to make alkyl benzene, ethyl benzene, so you have to use the Friedel-Crafts reaction, in which you need an acid chloride or an halide, something like that. You don't need that in this case, and provides the shortest synthetic route. We don't need extraordinary reagent, and as I described in the morning, the reaction is highly atom economical. So these are the advantages. So this looks very rosy, very nice, excellent, but how do you do it? So that is the bottom line. So you can explain anything how we can do this is atom economical. So no functional group, fine. So you use simple oxidizing reagent, just molecular oxygen or tertiary butyl hydroperoxide, simple, but how do you do it? That is the question we addressed. So these are the traditional methods. For example, X can be, X or Y can be corresponding halides or tosylates and so on and so forth, and you can use catalyst, and some of the protocols can give carbon-carbon bonds. Similarly, even if you don't have a functional group over there, at least one of the partner needs a functional group to form the carbon-carbon bond. The fundamental the aspects what one would understand when looking for CH functionalization is you have to kind of look for CH bond in which that bond should be kind of weaker. How it can be done? See, if you introduce a metal you know that is electropositive always. Okay, the CH bond, this is what you have been taught from your +2, that the inductive effect in which it is positive or negative when you go across the sigma bond, that inductive effect keeps on reducing. But however, that effect is there. The CH3, the terminal, CH2 next, CH2 next, all hydrogens are distinctly different. That small difference has been used to functionalize the organic compound. For example, in this cartoon, again it has been represented introducing a metal which can be electropositive or electronegative can disturb the CH bond. So what is the meaning of that? Meaning of that, to explain a very simple word, is, for example, in alkyl halide, butyl chloride, for example, if you take, Bu would be positively charged, Cl would be negatively charged. This has been taught. For example, when you put a metal called magnesium, that is going to form RMgS, where R completely becomes carbanion, negative. That means you are changing the complete reactivity of that. That means a metal introduction is going to change the complete dipole of the compound. One of the things, as I explained to you in the morning, any organic reaction to occur, there should be a dipole in the molecule, number one. If dipole is not there, introduce the dipole, then we can induce the reaction. You understand? So that is exactly the whole organic reaction falls into, in one sentence. Introduce the dipole or make the molecule dipole, so you are going to execute the reaction. That's exactly the functionalization is going to do, in which by introducing a metal. This is again a rosy story, but how do you do it? That is the question. So for example, if you look at some of the examples here, the aryl hydrogens, for example, they are sp3ch, number one. And here, the activated sp3ch in which the CH is next to one of the heteroatoms. Heteroatom can be nitrogen, oxygen or sulfur, anything like that. You understand? And the last example is that in which it can be unactivated sp3ch, that is one of the simple aliphatic H. So, these are the challenges. See, now I am going to explain to you, we are not the first one to do it. There are several groups doing this, what we really do. But now before seeing what can be done, we shall look into the problems, what are the problems associated with that. Number one, the CH bonds generally called as inert functional groups of organic chemistry. For example, in periodic table, you see the last group, we call inert group. Xenon, helium, neon, argon, whatsoever. They are inreactive, unreactive, because they have the full octet, right? So similarly, CH bonds are considered basically as inert group of organic periodic table. So that is one of the problems. So CH bonds are very, very inert, number one. Number two, more than that, they are ubiquitous. Ubiquitous means there are a number of CH bonds. If you look at benzene, if you look at toluene, or you look at butane, there are so many sets of them. How do you differentiate? So You have to differentiate a CH between the other one to specifically introduce a functional group. That is one of the problems. So the CH bonds are ubiquitous. There are so many hydrogens over there. Therefore, the investigation by numerous research groups over the last 30 years has yielded several systems for which CH groups can be functionalized. Examples include oxidative addition, sigma bond metathesis, and metal carbon chemistry. I don't want to take you too much into these aspects, but these are some of the things we are going to discuss. Having said that, these are the new jargons we are trying to introduce. The chemistry remains same. Let me very honestly tell you. People talk about very hi-fi about what they are trying to do, but basically many of the things have been already conceptualized long ago. This is one of the examples in which E.J. Corey and the other, E.J. Corey in 1958 has shown in one of the cholesterol systems, by using simple sulfuric acid system, you are going to make the NC bond. That is beautiful. No, you are not losing anything. So there is no functional group over there, and he has very extremely nicely he has shown that. This is what Delibes says in MIT Harvard. He started explaining about CH functionalization. He is the first person to coin this word CH functionalization. There is a story behind this person. Maybe 2002 or 2003. Initially, he published a series of papers, 2 or 3 papers, and they have become very popular. And at the end of the day, he started getting a lot of telephone calls that many of the researchers are not able to reproduce those results. So by the time the person who has done the research has left the group, then he told other people to duplicate the reaction and find out what is happening. And he found out none of the reactions are working. So therefore, he has to retract, that means withdraw 3 of his papers which he has published in JSCS in 2003 to 2004. See, the problem with the researcher is, for example, Professor Kaluraya is doing the research. He will believe what students will come and say, today this has happened, you are saying TLC or basic column will be 90%. Then you look into many other subjects, you have to believe you. So that is what Professor Wallas and everybody has done that. Suddenly, this becomes a problem, somebody deceives. So that is a big problem. Therefore, in the research, please understand that reliability is the very, very, very important thing. Therefore, whenever anybody writes a recommendation, one of the words they expect at the end is, this person is highly reliable. So because I don't know what you are trying to do over there. See, in the practical labs you will see what is happening. You can weigh and see. But every day you are doing hundreds of reactions, you can conceptualize. So in research, this is one of the hazardous things. It's a professional hazard. So this person has to, of course, he did not lose his job like many others, he's lucky fellow. So he is one of the very major players who started doing this chemistry. I'm sorry. Okay, let us keep going. See, now we shall look at the classical methods how do you make carbon-carbon bonds. See, carbon-carbon bonds, it is very historical. The formation of carbon-carbon bond is very historical. The old reactions like Friedel-Crafts, Grignards, Wittig, so on and so forth, that's what you study in your class, making an Eli and all these things, they are one of the earlier stages. Then, this chemistry has been developed very nicely by using transition metals, for example, or even the noble metals, for example, Ullmann reaction, Wurtz coupling and all these things, in which you need a functional group like halide over there in presence of a catalyst, it forms the corresponding bibenzyl. Okay? Then cross coupling reactions has become very famous, for which Heck, Suzuki and Negishi has been awarded the Nobel Prize. So they have shown that this is very nice, where you have the X groups, and this is coupling between different coupling partners, in which you can have the boronic acid. So Suzuki has done that, and Kumada has done with MgX, ZnX, so on and so forth. And these are the very famous reaction which has been awarded the Nobel Prize. By the way, Suzuki and Negishi are the PhD students, postdoc students in now. So they started from there. So these are all very famous reactions. So in which you need the transition metal, so on and so forth. Now, coming to the talk, the major talk, what I am going to tell you forward is that, for example, you look at this reaction in which we have made, one has made a CC bond using a simple diketone, 1,3-diketone, an active methylene group over there and allylic hydrogen. Very deliberately this person has chosen a very reactive system in which he has used a catalyst, metal catalyst like copper, ruthenium, iron and so on and so forth. In presence of an accident, few oxidants, he has made the CC bonds. Very nice. There is no functional group. I think most of you would agree with that. This is one of the early example. C.J. Lee from Montreal University has started this work in early beginning of 2000. This is one of the papers he published. Later, again C.J. Lee has published another paper in which he has used this benzylic hydrogen. Again benzylic hydrogen, he can differentiate between rest of the hydrogens from this hydrogen. He has taken the advantage. He has used DDQ and the photocatalyst iosine to make the CC bond. See, suddenly the things look different. Not that he is doing anything new, but he is choosing the right system in which he doesn't need a functional group over there, and you can make a very nice CC bonds. So now, again C.J. Lee has summarized everything in 2009, in which he has used another system. The CH2s are attached to nitrogen, in which it becomes very reactive. In presence of catalyst and photocatalyst condition, he has made this C nucleophile bond. There can be several nucleophiles. Now, what people have used so far for CC bond formation? People have used low valent metal catalysts such as copper, ruthenium, iron, so on and so forth. What has been named there? Oxidants, TBHP, H2O2, TBP and oxygen, metal free conditions using BPO and DDQ. So, whatever we heard in the morning, the same thing is trying to reflect over here. What we are trying to use is, so they are weather friendly and they are all user-friendly protocols in which all the catalysts, and here these are all the user-friendly protocols you can develop. These are the things what have been used. For our research, when we wanted to develop CC bond formation using CH functionation, we chose two systems deliberately, and that is one of these things is isopyrrolene and another one is N-dimethyl anhydride. So I would like to draw your attention in which we are going to discriminate this hydrogen which is attached to alpha this amine and these two set of CH3s which are little reactive than rest of the hydrogen. Therefore, in this kind of C functionalization, we are taking the advantage of having a heterofunctional group somewhere in the molecule without disturbing it. You are going to make C or Cl bond. Okay? So now things are becoming a little better. Then when we started looking at that, so this is what I told you in the early stage of my research. This is what the fundamental thing we are looking at, a redox chemistry in which the metal can be used and it can be circulated and keep on doing the catalytic reduction. So this is what we did earlier, reductions and oxidation, we did that. Now Dr. Alagiri, who was working with Shibasaki, now he has joined as a faculty at IISER Trivandrum. IISER Trivandrum recently was looking at that, whether we would be able to use indole as a nucleophile and treat it tetrahydroisoquinoline. I would like to remind you, these indoles and phenols are naked nucleophiles. The third position, number 3 position of indole is very reactive. You go and ask Professor Kalluraya's or Holla's lecture, you would always appreciate that. I still remember Professor Holla taught me the Fischer indole synthesis while I was doing my master. That's what I told him. And now I am using indole left and right. And we have really made a fantastic inroads. And they published great work in which recently they have been identified as the most read papers in organic chemistry and so on and so forth. See, this is what Alagiri started looking at that probably around 2010 or so. Then how do you do this? See, this is not new. See, let me be very honest. I would like to confess, we are the players. We entered the game little late, and this has been already done with several people. As you can see in this presentation. See, for example, C.J. Lee, again, as I told you, from Montreal, he has used copper as the reagent, copper bromide, in presence of TBHP to achieve this result. Yields are anywhere between 45 to 85. Schnuritz from Germany, he published a paper in ChemCom in 2010, wherein he has used iron nitrate to form the CC bond in this kind of reaction. Similarly, Che published 2 more papers in which he has used iron as well as ruthenium catalyst to do the same reaction. As I told you earlier, we were looking for base chemicals and we were looking for simple chemicals. We don't want to modify anything, although with all due respect to the chemistry that has been developed. Then he started looking at, because of our experience in molybdenum and vanadium, are we able to do the same reaction using vanadium or molybdenum? That is the question Alagiri has asked, and he has come up with the answer. That is what made an excellent paper from Alagiri in ChemCom in 2011, in which he has used tetrahydroisoquinoline, N-phenyl, with indole, using a catalytic system, he developed a protocol to make the corresponding CC bonds. I would like to attract your attention in which the conditions are so nice. I hope everyone can see that the entry number 10, which is red, we have used vanadium pentoxide 10 mole percent and indole 1.2 equivalent, and reaction works very well with molecular oxygen and water, and of course for 24 hours we need little higher temperature, yields are pretty good. So this is what I am trying to convince you in the morning, that you have to use water as the solvent, better. You have to use oxygen as the oxidant, it is still better. See, that is what we have achieved, and probably if you look at the atom economy of that, we did not try to isolate the V2O5 and recycle the reaction, because we were doing reaction in very small scale. Okay? Then he started looking at that. This is the protocol he has developed, in which the reaction can proceed very well at 100 degrees, and he started looking at the different reactions. Luckily, he has a nice help from his colleague called Ravi Kumara, who was a project assistant during those times, and then they started looking at the variety of substrates in which you have synthesized several tetrahydroisoquinoline, you have made N-phenyl, N-paramethoxyphenyl, N-amine, and again some of these heliotropin kind of stuff, and different varieties of them. And we have also made several indoles, and this is the method we have followed to make the tetrahydroisoquinoline. Okay? Then, looking at the substrate scope, reaction worked extremely well. You can see that the first example which has given 79% NMR yield and 65% is the isolated yield, in which you can make a very nice CC bonds. See, varieties of indoles have been treated and reaction proceeds very well, and it is very nice to see it is a very general reaction in which indole can be very nicely functionalized, and tetrahydroisoquinoline can be functionalized, and either way. So we have used indole as a nucleophile. This is the first ever reaction we did, and also we used N-methyl indole to see whether reaction goes. Reaction was very good. We made in large scale also, and then we were using pyrrole also. See, again, pyrrole is also having a similar scaffold of indole, in which you have two hydrogens which are equally reactive. With that, you can see that we did not try to isolate the monomer. We reacted, both the hydrogens reacted. We got very nice conversion of the pyrrole to pyrrole reacting with an tetrahydroisoquinoline in almost 68% yield. So having done that, we also did a control study in which you have two activated positions, in which you have benzenic CH as well as this CH, which is next to this one, as well as this competition between them has only given 33% of the product, in which the hydrogen of the tetrahydroisoquinoline has reacted, whereas the benzenic hydrogen is intact, but yield was not great. We could not improvise this. We have not published this, but this was one of the results we got it. So now, having done the reaction, very nicely working reaction, you are looking at whole reaction works. See, this is a very deceptive strategy. What you have done in the whole reaction is, as I told you, there is no functional group here. Yes, well taken. Now, what would happen in presence of vanadium? Vanadium coordinates with nitrogen, and it forms the corresponding, ammonium cation. Okay, ammonium cation, because of the reaction, it loses one of the protons. It forms the corresponding iminium salt. So therefore, this in situ, we are generating this iminium salt, which reacts with a nucleophile to form the product. Understand? So this is the concept, nothing else. Although we say there is no functional group, we have creating an atmosphere in which this tetrahydroisoquinoline can be very nicely reacted. So then, having found that this indole reacts very well, now we were wondering what kind of other nucleophiles we can make using. Whether there are so many nucleophiles, so whether it is possible to use. In fact, it is not possible to use many of the nucleophiles. Every time you look for a new nucleophile, you have to kind of screen the conditions and develop the new conditions, and you have to kind of validate a condition which works for that kind of nucleophile. Whatever works for indole may not work for a substitute like a nucleophile like phos-5. So therefore, we started checking at the phos-5, maybe alkyl phosphide, in which hydrogen is available for the reaction. You were wondering whether this reaction go or not. Then we started looking at that, how this molecule can be prepared. So what are the traditional methods? If you look at that, if you want to look at one of the methods, these are the two methods available in which Kabachik and Field, they have shown one of the protocols in which you have to use ketone, amine, and also the corresponding phosphate. And similarly, Fodovic has shown that this imine can react with phosphate under strange condition to form the corresponding phosphate. These are the old methods in which you have to make and use it. So in our method, we are in situ generating. But now we also started looking at the literature. Anybody has used this. We found that this is also known by using copper. CJLE has done that. Similarly, Koenig from Germany has also done using the photo conditions, using iocine as the catalyst to make this reaction. And Magnus Ruping from Germany again has shown under the photolytic condition, which has published in Chemcom, with ruthenium complexes, he was able to do that. Then again, the same strategy, we were wondering whether we can use either our vanadium or molybdenum catalyst. We have shown that that can be used as a redox catalyst. So then we found that this molybdenum dioxide in presence of oxygen methanol at 60 degrees centigrade gives an excellent yield of the corresponding phosphate. See, if you look at the phosphorus chemistry, to introduce a phosphonate is not easy. The Arbuzov reaction, what you study, you have to take an halide and cook with phosphite for several hours and distribute. So that is the method that you make a phosphonate using Arbuzov method, but this is one of the very easy method. You can just put it across and apply in your compound. But as I told you earlier, this methodology, what I am trying to tell you, very simplified. But before identifying this real condition, the students who work with really all kind of conditions, they vary, and to get the right condition, it really takes time and good experience. So that is what you get a good training, how to do a reaction, how to negotiate a reaction, how to design a new concept. All these things will be achieved during that time. PhD is nothing but getting a training. It is not publishing papers. You should understand. So not the paper, they are important. How much you are trained, how much conceptually you can understand the subject, how can you independently present. That is the bottom line. If you don't do that, whatever the number of papers you publish, wherever you publish, it's approved. So PhD is a kind of training for all these things, whether you stay for 3 years, 5 years, or whatsoever. So these are the methods, and we have shown that this can work very well, and we have tried with several substrates. As you can see here, the reaction works extremely well, and we have synthesized a plethora of the phosphonates using these methods. I would draw your attention, the yields are pretty good. They have been isolated using column chromatography and have been characterized by NMR and the mass spec and so on and so forth. So the reaction works very well. We have used varieties of tetrahydroisoquinoline, as you have shown. Reaction is pretty interesting. And again, the mechanism is almost similar. We have only replaced vanadium with molybdenum. But I would like to tell you that reaction works with vanadium. That doesn't show a great result with molybdenum. This one works with vanadium. That doesn't show it. So this is the small difference. However, being small, it is very significant. So that is why we were able to sell the papers. Because when you make a different thing, people are working. It's known, but how you can do it? People would not take. If you repeat somebody has done, you do some other reagent and do it, it's not well taken. So you have to show the strength of your method. What is your strength? So based on that, we would be able to sell this reaction. Again, is another thing, we wanted to approach this cross-derivative cross-coupling reaction to make the nitriles. So usually nitriles are made, as usual, aliphatic nitriles can be made by corresponding halide, in which we can substitute using sodium cyanide. These are the very famous reactions. Then if you want to do the same reaction, what you can do, what you can use. But if you make a nitrile, nitrile can be easily converted to corresponding amine and also acid, Therefore, this functional group is very, very important. If you can make it in one go, that would be certainly interesting to organic community. So on that point of view, and another streaker synthesis of alpha amino nitrile, the aldehyde using ammonia and HCl can be converted to corresponding amino nitrile this way, which is published in 2004. And now, when you looked at the literature, it was also found that ruthenium chloride, vanadium pentoxide, and also iron can also do the same reaction, in which they have used the sodium cyanide, in which NN diethyl or NN dialkyl group has used, and they have taken the advantage of this CH2 to make the compound. And it is also known, and published by Ophiel from Austria, which he has used ferrous chloride and TBHP to make this compound using TMSCN as the nitrile source. He has used 2 equivalent, and here people have used 1.2 equivalent of sodium cyanide. And Zhu from China has published similar papers. Now, we were thinking whether we can also do the same thing, and reaction indeed worked very well. So that is what has happened to the tetrahydroisoquinoline in the reaction of molybdenum ACAC in this case, reaction worked very well, and in presence of oxygen there was no solvent required. At 80 degrees centigrade we were able to access the varieties of nitriles in excellent yields. I would like to draw attention, these things are very important, they are like amino acids. Basically you are going to make amino and acid functionality, nitrile is there, you can always hydrolyze and get it, that is indirectly, that is what it is, it works for several substrates, and again the mechanism looks similar. And without boring, I would like to take you through two more excellent reactions which you have developed. Azo-Henry reaction via CH functionalization, in which nitroethane has been reacted with this NN dialkyl system. You can note that both of them are sp3CH bonds. See, sp3CH bonds you are trying to use, only difference is very small. Then you have to create an atmosphere to make the imine and find the right condition to make the CC bond. That is exactly what Alagiri did in the next reduction, because these are some of the methods where this can be used very nicely. Nitro can be converted to amine, and nitro can be converted into aldehydes and also ketones using several methods, and that also can be used to it can be reacted with imine to form the Azo-Henry kind of reaction, and CDC reaction is also known with the corresponding nitro compound, and also it is known with copper bromide again by C.G. Lee, who is the big player in the group. Then we found out another method in which vanadium pentoxide can do the same reaction. We made the corresponding nitro compound very nicely, and reaction works very well, and there are the substrate scope which has shown excellent thing, and mechanism is same. And now see, just I am rushing through all these things because they look like we have duplicated. So now, having done this metal, we have used vanadium and we have used molybdenum so far. Now we were wondering whether we would be able to design metal-free reactions. If you can design a metal-free reaction, why a metal-free reaction? Is it necessary to do a metal-free reaction? Yes, it is. Because many of the pharmaceutical industry, see, that is something called xenotoxicity, the metals, even the PPB level is validated, and they are going to hamper the quality of the material. So therefore, it is important not to use metal at the ultimate and penultimate stage. So therefore, the metal-free reactions are very, very important. Now, having said that, what is that you are talking about redox reaction? It is nice. The chromium, metal, molybdenum, vanadium, so on and so forth, they can exit in multi-oxidation state. Good. See, that is the strategy we have used to make the redox chemistry. Then how do you do it with non-metals? So that is what we were thinking. Then we started looking at that. This is what we have done so far. We have done this, we have done this, we have done this already with metal. Now Alagiri again looking forward for that. See, I tell my students, you look for something, you will get it. You have to look for it. If you don't look for it, even it is next to you, you will not get it. So the curiosity, that observation is very, very important. When you do a reaction, you have to clearly observe that what exactly is happening. Are you getting the product? Yes or no? If you are getting yes, look forward for that. If you have to know what is happening, reaction is stopping there, something is happening, that is more important than the product. So therefore, when you do a reaction, don't only look for the product, look for something else also. Therefore, that kind of lookingness, the curiosity and seriousness in the reaction is very, very important. Otherwise, you miss the process. Even though it is there, you would not be figured it out. So, what we have done is, you know that DDQ it can exist in both the phenol and ketone. It is exactly like your tautomerism, so you can play around with that. See, that is what we have done, in which you have used DDQ that can go backward and forward. So, what is your redox reaction? Electron flow this way or that way, right? Yes or no? Exactly same thing we are trying to use with DDQ. Then we were looking forward, what are the things known as DDQ? So you know that DDQ is an excellent reagent, and there are many reactions used to do the reactions. There is stoichiometric amount of DDQ. For example, one of them is PMB, that is paramethoxybenzyl deproduction. The DDQ takes but 1.1 equivalent they use. This is the standard reaction. And benzylic oxidation, for example, if you use this kind of system cyclic in presence of 3 equivalent of DDQ under a particular condition, you can form the corresponding ketone. So these are the methods known. But I am not telling you about what we are trying to do with this. But only thing I tell you, what are the utilities of DDQ, and this is again oxidation alcohol to corresponding aldehyde. It has published way back in 1980. See, now Is this kind of reactions known? DDQ reactions are known to do the CH functionalization? Yes, they are known. However, they have used DDQ in 1.2 equivalent, and they have used metal salts and other things. I would like to draw your attention DDQ in stoichiometric amount that has also published in Langevin and Chemie in 2006. And now there is another protocol in which they have used the benzyloxy ethers, in which DDQ again used in stoichiometric amount. But we are not looking for a stoichiometric reaction. Our intention was to design a catalytic reaction. Now we are looking for what are the catalytic reactions known other than this. See, again they are all stoichiometric reactions. See, we came across catalytic reactions wherein DDQ was used 10 mole% in both the reactions. So this is done by Srivari Chandrasekhar from IICT Hyderabad, and this is from GVM Sharma again from IICT Hyderabad. But I would like to draw your attention to dry the reaction. We have used ferric chloride 3 equivalents, and here they have used manganese acetate 3 equivalent. So you are losing the advantage whatever you gain by using the stoichiometric, catalytic amount of DDQ. But they are using large amount of other metals. We are not looking for that. We are, if at all we want to do, we would like to do a reaction using catalytic amount of the organometallic things. Then what is known again, DDQ in catalytic amount, oxygen 1.3 MPa, little pressure, so that it can aromatize. Oxidation of activated alcohols, DDQ 5 to 10 mole%. Again, these are improvised procedures, what you have seen earlier, stoichiometric amount. And again 15 mole% of DDQ or manganese oxide, 6 equivalent. See, I would like to draw your attention for all these things. Now, to recap, what is known with other metals is with copper, with vanadium, it is known to form the products. And again, it is also known to do today, these are the recaps, not with DDQ, with metals. And again, a Mannich reaction is known with organometallic compound, with this kind of tetrahydropyrrole, the corresponding salt to form this, and they have used rose Bengal here. So these are the many methods where they used organometallic. Our question was, what Allegri wanted to address was, whether it is possible to design a reaction using catalytic amount of DDQ. Yes, that is what we are looking for. So you are looking forward for that. After several trials, he was able to figure out indeed the reaction is possible to do. So that is what has been shown in this presentation, in which he has used 10 mole% of DDQ with vanadium pentoxide, 10 mole% catalytic amount, both of them, and at 60 degrees centigrade, 24 hours, he was able to get the corresponding the product in excellent yield. So this is indeed one of the breakthroughs that we got using non-metals. So then we are looking for several other substrates, what can be done. So this is very nicely, it works with ketones, for example, like this. And again, I would like to draw your attention, in these substrates, it is important to note that this CH3, this more react, see, among these two, one is CH3, other one is CH2, both of them is alpha to carbonyl group. But fortunately, this is the one that has reacted against that, and we got excellent results over there, which has been presented in these two slides. So, having done that, he has also used the coumarin as the nucleophile again. Then you look for several other nucleophiles. This one also worked DDQ catalyzed hydroxycoumarins. This is again, this also acts like a nucleophile, although it has gone over there and we got the corresponding product. Reaction indeed worked very well with several other nucleophiles. Even phosphate reacted very well, and we could get an excellent paper in Chemistry European Journal by publishing this. This is the mechanism we thought it goes to. For example, if you have tetrahydroisoquinoline in presence of DDQ, it forms the like this, where electron flows like this, and ultimately it has to go through iminium salt. That is what we think. Although we did some control, we cannot completely prove that mechanism. This is one of the tentative mechanisms we are going to present. So again, it is been given over here, the radical mechanism. What we have shown so far, the CDC reaction, is that you have developed a host of reactions using tetrahydroisoquinoline, in which a variety of nucleophiles have been treated to get the corresponding CC bonds and the C hetero bonds like CP and so on and so forth. Reaction worked very well in our hands. Having said that, well, we have done CC bonds, and now is it possible to apply the same method to make the CN bonds? And again, whether we can develop a metal-free conditions, is it possible? That was the question. We started looking at that. And again, activation of sp3 CH bonds of benzoxazole under mild reaction conditions That is what we have attempted. And these are the traditional methods, Buchwald-Hartwig amination, in which you need the active, for example, the corresponding bromobenzene or chlorobenzene treat with amine. In presence of palladium catalyst, you are going to make the corresponding amines. So similarly, the copper catalyzed CN bond formation can be addressed similarly. Again, by Buchwald, he has shown that the same, the corresponding halide, aromatic halide reacts with amine under the copper conditions or nickel condition, can give the product. And now, what we really look forward is that we can remove those two hydrogens and make the corresponding CN bonds. That is what Manjunath Ramani did that. He has done other reactions. One of the reactions he started looking at that. See, then we also start looking at the literature. There are a few methods in which PIDA, that is hypervalent iodine, along with catalytic amount of iodine at 50 degrees centigrade, they got this product. And similarly, Anton Chick has published a paper in which he has cyclized using a catalyst like corresponding aromatic dihalides, which has published in Angiv and Shemi. And one of the traditional methods, if you remember, to make this benzoxazole, benzoazoles and oxazole, this is the method in which you have the amine or diamine or whatever accordingly, use carbon disulfide, form the corresponding thiol. This exists in a kind of tautomers. In PCl5 we get the Cl, react. This is the circuitous route. The liberation of toxic H2S gas and two halo derivatives are unstable. These are the limitation of this method. But now, to overcome that, people have tried using several things in which they have used an acetylene with the corresponding oxazolene under copper condition to get the corresponding CC form. Then what we started looking at that, when we designed the reaction, when we started looking at this, we were looking at the pKa of similar molecules, then we quickly realized the benzoxazole, benzthiazole, between them, this is having a pKa which is very close to the corresponding acetylene. So therefore, is it possible to kind of reminiscent this reaction under these conditions? So that is the question we asked. Meanwhile, copper catalyzed oxidative coupling is also known, few of them using copper acetate. And also Mayura has published another paper where he also used copper ACAC to make the same reaction, and silver catalyzed reactions are also known similarly, and again cobalt and manganese and copper again have been published. Why this is so important? There are many, see, when you do all these heterocyclic compounds, many of them are natural products and many of them are pharmaceutically useful compounds. And this PPT shows some of the very important moiety in which this, the oxazole and nitrogen of this one is very, very important. This is some of the medicinally important heteroazoles in which this is under clinical trial, and this is used for HIV treatment, and this is for receptor agonist, and also the last one which was published recently in Journal of Medicinal Chemistry, selective receptor partial, agonist high antidiuretic additive. So anti-diarrhea. So it is anti-diarrhea material. So therefore, if you method a nice method to do it in one go, that will be certainly useful. So now, when I said that, we already told you that DDQ can be used. Now, what is the other thing you can use? So we are forgetting one of the very important element in the periodic table called iodine. There is another thing which is a non-metal which exists in multi-oxidation state. So that is the advantage, right? Although hypervalent iodines are known, that molecular iodine itself can exist in multiple oxidation states. I hope you know this. So this is what it can have: +1, +3, +5, +7. So our question was, can we use this as an advantage to make a metal-free reaction? Okay. Then it has led to plethora of methods. Other than this, we took it forward to develop the methods in our lab using iodine as the catalyst and iodine-like reagent as the catalyst. If you look at the hypervalent iodine and molecular iodine, the weight goes more towards the molecular iodine. The advantage is that this is hypervalent iodine, is very chemoselective, mild, easily available, low toxicity. Whereas hypervalent iodine, poor solubility in most of the organic solvents, and stoichiometric use is necessary, and it is shock sensitive. So this is shock sensitive, and these are the disadvantages. Then convenience of using iodine is this: they are highly tolerant to air as well as moisture. You don't have to take high care of the reaction. You can do in a simple vessel and simple lab conditions. Easily removable. We shall not worry. Extremely user and environmentally friendly. So we did a screening studies, and we were very pleased to find out we could find an excellent method in which the CN bond can be used by using TBHP as the oxidizing source, and then oxygen in stoichiometric amount, and acetic acid as an additive. Under solvent-free conditions at room temperature, the reaction proceeded very well to form the corresponding CN bond in 95%. So this is the condition, final optimized condition. We did several substrates which work extremely well. We can see here, I don't want to bore with you. There are some minor changes we have to do in some cases. And primary amines also work very well. The yields are pretty good. And see, as I told you, as I promised you earlier, synthesis of anti-diuretic agents have been accomplished in one go. You have seen that this needs 5-6 steps, where you can take the oxazole and the corresponding amine, just stick the reaction with iodine and aqueous TBHP, you are going to have your product in 95%, and that is what Manjunath has accomplished. And this is orally active benzoxazole derivatives, whatever it is. This they are used in treatment of diarrhea, and this has been published in medicinal chemistry by somebody else. This is the medical medicine, is not by us, but this compound we made using this route, and this information comes from this paper. Okay, so now having done that, we are looking at the reaction, how it proceeds. Generally, we do some control experiments whether reaction is going through a radical reaction or ionic reaction. Therefore, we use sometimes radical quenchers and radical initiators or radical inhibitors. All these things we have seen that reaction is. Nothing happens to reaction in presence of BHT, which is radical scavenger. And here we thought it may be going through an imine stuff, but that did not form the product. Then based on that, we came across a tentative mechanism in which again the iodine formed the corresponding N9. That's what we believe, and ultimately it formed the corresponding product. And TBHP with iodine, the reaction goes, and this is the kind of iminium acetate we think the reaction generated. This is tentative, so I can't completely tell you what proofs we have. So this is the comparative study. While we have completed this work, a paper appeared in Organic Letter, in which here also from Germany, Nasim from Germany, where we have used tetrabutyl ammonium iodide under a similar condition, but we had better success score. So now iodine behaves like a metal now. Almost. So now we wanted to know whether what the reactions you have done earlier, Alagiri has done, is it possible to reproduce same reaction with iodine? That is what Dinesh did, and we found out all the reactions what we did, they work extremely well, and there you need to use iodine 10 more percent, oxygen or TBHP, 24 hours of room temperature. We can accomplish all of that. This is what we published back in 2013 in Organic Letter. It works very well because the shortage of time. I don't want to see. You can see that all half a dozen nucleophiles, the reactions work very well, and it also works with active methylene group. You have to slightly make the changes, and reaction proceeds very well. See here. By using aqueous TBHP instead of oxygen, reaction works. See, these are the small changes. You don't have to give it up. When it doesn't work with oxygen, you look forward for something else. That's what he did, and reaction goes pretty fast, and reaction is very nice. And similarly, we have done the comparative study, the robust comparative study between this, and this gives 46% of the nitrile going over there using TMSCN, and this is also nice to see. And control studies we did, in which we thought that we are going to get this compound. That is what has happened. We isolated that one, we get the mass spec of that. It again goes through the iminium salt method, and we could accomplish the whole set of reaction using iodine also. So what the story goes like this. So far what we did was, we used metal, we have shown two non-metals can accomplish a fantastic CS concentration. See, now this is what the robust method we have developed with iodine. All this nucleophile works very well. See, now the question was, now phosphite being a nucleophile over there, and with iodine, what happens if you do the same reaction with a nucleophile using this one as the source of pH? So nucleophile can be amine, alcohol, and sulfoxamide in iodine. So there is no model, no base, no are you going to make it? That is the question Dinesh again asked. And what we did was, what is known is this. This is what we developed earlier. Now I would like to draw your attention that is N-protected N-benzyl. If you don't use N-benzyl, instead of naked tetrahydroisophenolate in presence of this kind of phosphide, what would be the reaction? We are expecting that. Unfortunately, the reaction did not go there. But for our pleasant surprise, we got NP bond. So this is again another thing. We can very nicely make a NP bond, which is important. If agrochemicals, this kind of NP bonds are very, very important. So we developed an excellent method. In fact, the first reaction has given him only 10% NMR conversion. I would like to draw your attention. It gave only 10%. He made it 90% greater. So that he needed to work it out. And this is the method that has been followed to make the p-n bond by Arthur and Todd method. They are very old methods published in 1940s. So these are the methods, but these are the chiral ligands you can access by using this method. So your method will be certainly popular. So after we did this, we have several phone calls from several industries. How do you do it? How do you they want to scale it up and so on. So these are the few more examples which are biologically active compound, and NP bond formation has been addressed using copper and also the hypervalent iodine and so on and so forth. And this is the Arthur and Todd method. Now, as I told you, this reaction worked very well, and as you can see, the indole, the corresponding phosphate reacted very well again. It formed the corresponding NP bond, and you can see here it works actually very well for many of the things, and it also works with iodine and aqueous H2O2, TBHP and so on and so forth, and reaction works extremely well. We executed the reaction to large number of substrates here. We have shown reaction is pretty good, and it also goes with nothing, and that is the strength of the reaction. And here in this slide, the mechanism is shown, which is almost similar to that. That brings me to the last topic of today's talk. It is time till 3:15. Okay. So the last topic, but more things over there. See, what we are telling is CH functionalization using a reactive system. Now, what do you mean by CH functionalization? Actually, putting a metal over there, you are activating one of the hydrogens over there. Okay. This is, if you look in this cartoon, a benzene, one of the hydrogens, if you put a functional group over there, you cannot convert just like putting benzene in any functional group. Nothing happens to that. See, now what you have to do is, you introduce another group also to that hydrogen, then you put a metal over there. There will be metallar cycle between that hydrogen and that that directing group. So then what happens? Suddenly this hydrogen becomes activated. You understand? So therefore, by introducing a directing group, you can direct the reaction, direct the functional group, whatever you are going to put, by using a directional group. This is called directing group chemistry or phase selectivity. So therefore you have to activate one of them. See, in the second one I have shown that directing group with metal, it forms the corresponding product. See, again the same thing has been shown here. So these reactions are very well known in the aromatic system with ruthenium. It forms the nice Ruthenna circle, which you can put a alpha beta unsaturated system, that is an activated olefin. You can make a CH bond over there, not the Michael addition. You should remember, if you put an olefin, alpha beta unsaturated ketone, which is activated olefin, you are going to make CC bond in which double band is intact. If double band has been disappeared, then it is called your Michael addition. This is not the Michael addition. So then is it possible to do traditional cross coupling reactions? As you know already, Suzuki, Kumuda, Negishi and Stille, all of them use the corresponding halides and some organometallic compounds to bring about this reaction. So these are very famous reactions. This is the second phase of organic synthesis, which brought a fantastic thing in the chemistry development. Now, this is another thing in directing group. What can be a directing group? A directing group should have a heteroatom like nitrogen, sulfur, oxygen, so that it can have a kind of bond with the metal or whatever the metal you are using to form the metallar cycle. So therefore, these are the directing groups, amides, acids, oxides and so on and so forth. That and several metals have been used, palladium, ruthenium, rhodium, nickel, etc. But we chose ruthenium for our particular research. Then let us see what Viranjana has done in his research. So he has chosen the indole. If you look at the indole, as I told you, it's a naked nucleophile in which there are 3 very active hydrogens. So if you do a reaction on indole, no doubt reaction goes in 3rd position. It's a well-known chemistry that has been taught to us. Now, if you selectively want to functionalize at 2nd position or 4th position or 7th position, this is 2nd position. These 3, is it possible to do that? That is the question we asked. Now, why indoles? So as you know, indoles are very, very important. They present in many. The piety is present in natural product. That's a fantastic molecular architecture is present in several pharmaceutically important compounds. Therefore, you can always think that whatever the derivatives you develop with indoles, particularly, they are very, very important. Let us see how we go around with that. And these are the few examples. Ravolfia that contains the indole moiety, and I hope you can see all the things which are pretty smaller. Let us not worry about that, but I can tell you that all of them have, indole moieties. They are very, very important things that have been constructed by central compounds what have been shown there. But as I told you earlier, some of the reactions are known for the alkylation of indole at third position. This is using palladium. This has been done in 1983, the classical chemistry using palladium 3 equivalent of that, and this is using that corresponding sulfoxide, and you can use palladium 2, it goes to second position. Again, it is palladium chemistry in which the Pareto cycle will be between this the nitrogen of the pyridine and this hydrogen, and this has been published by Kirschenbaum from Germany, in which he has shown that ruthenium can also can be used in amide, using amide as the directing group, which goes the alkylation goes to the ortho position. And again, as you can see here, Matthew Gaunt from UK has shown that this indole in alkylation using palladium in both the ways, it formed the alkylation second position as well as third position. The low yields have been presented over there. In case of another system, what you have shown here, palladium has been used and it formed the corresponding ester here. Again, yields are pretty low. Or this problem here is it is difficult to knock off this. See, directing group, you have to get rid of that afterwards. Once you do the reaction, you have to get rid of that. See, now this is what is known, as I told you, but this is what is not known. So that is what we are looking at that. Then we started looking at the reaction conditions. We developed the fantastic reaction conditions. While we are doing that, we use several directing groups where indole NR, that is attached to the N, we have used naked indole as well as ORCNBCA3, an acetyl group, and COCA3 thrice, and even the corresponding ketone, one more ketone. We have used all these things and we started looking at that. The alkylation went in two positions consecutively. Luckily, we did not go to third position. The best thing to happen is the very reactive position, but it is not going there. So why? Although it is reactive, you are reducing the reactivity of that, or you are increasing the reactivity of the second hydrogen by making the Budana cycle stable in the reaction. Therefore, we could get both the products. Then we stabilize. Of course, this product is very, very important later, but we could not stabilize to get the alkylation of seventh position. But very nicely we can accomplish that at the second position. That is what we are accomplished. And the conditions are, he has used ruthenium catalyst, thymine catalyst 5 more %, and silver 20 more %, and copper. All this cocktail is important. You need to generate the ruthenium and you have to use silver as well as copper, and the room at 100 degree centigrade, you could get the corresponding the alkylation of second position. He will almost quantitative yield, he got around 97%. And now, this is very, very important. When you work in indole, you have to figure out some of the, you have to confirm the structure of the compound. Your NMR, common sense tells this is the compound, that's alright. But sometimes when you have doubt, for example, there are so many aromatic protons over there, and difficult to decide whether the assigned structure is alright or not. Therefore, you have to take a crystal structure. The compound has been taking the crystal structure. That is what we published in Organic Letters in 2013. And now we have done with host of substrates, and reactions work very well, and you can see reaction yields are pretty good. Several indole derivatives have been used. And now we have also used tertiary butyl acrylate, in which in one go the acrylate group has been deprotected and we got the corresponding acid, and this is what we have done. Several substrate yields are moderate to okay, but that is what we have seen. In one go we are able to put the acrylic acid at the second position of the indole. And again, few fancy experiments have been done in which the diacrylate of this one aromatic system has been prepared and treated the indole. You have shown that both the sides the reaction goes, and we were a little crazy to try the other reaction, the next reaction whatever was shown here with this kind of indole. I would like to draw your attention that is COPH. COPH benzoyl group is driving this reaction, because next part of the story I am going to uncover the benzyl group. That is going to tell me the different story. I would like to draw your attention, the directing group is PHCO, this O. I would have shown the other way around, and this is the, again, aliphatic acrylate. It has also formed the yield, very good yields. And now, synthetic application of these things, what you can do with that, we have shown here, in which the alkylator product has been cyclized over there, and also, we have not shown that these things are known in the liquid. So, when you put the dotted arrow, that means this can be done. And now, we started questioning ourselves. So now you have put the group at second position. Now fourth position is very, very important, because when you accumulate the fourth position, you have an excellent opportunity of synthesizing ergot alkalides. Ergot alkalides are very, very important. So then, how do we do that? We have done the same thing. You have the directing group on N. Is it possible to have a directing group at the third position, so that we can direct the coming alkylation at the fourth position? We were not very sure. It can go to either fourth or it can go to second position. So when we did this reaction, we expected that, but it did not happen. So instead of that, we started getting the alkylation at the fourth position. It is excellent indeed. And now, this is the product we have tried under the same reaction condition. The reaction being, this is, if you perform the 5-member Ruzana cycle, we should have got it, the alkylation at second position. If the Ruzana cycle is 6-member, we will get the alkylation at the fourth position. So there is a competition between that. But fortunately for us, reaction went very well. We could get the alkylation product at the fourth position. 36% yield. This was the first reaction. So yield was not great, but then we developed the reaction. Then we were looking at what is the use of this. As you can see here, if you make a compound like this, you can make a compound like this. We can have, you can convert that one to corresponding cyclic compound, which can go for closed compounds. Therefore, this reaction becomes very, very important. So now we started looking at that traditional methods of doing this. As you can see that the corresponding nitro compounds have been, you have introduced the carbon-carbon bond over there, and hydrolysis, form the acetal, DMA, phenol, and so on and so forth to make this. Then you have to go for the compound. If you want to use the classical Heck reaction, you need a bromo over there at the fourth position. Difficult to make. Bromo at fourth position is not easy to make. Then this Michael addition, like whatever. So Wittig reaction also can lead that. Again, you need that compound. But in our protocol, it is very easy. So we also looked in the literature. There is one possibility that people have used the tryptophan derivative, in which the tryptophan derivative in presence of N-TIPS can form the corresponding alkylated product. This was also known in 2013. They used palladium acetate and silver acetate. So there are many other methods in which the same reaction using other metals has been known in aromatic system like benzene, not in endo. So now we started looking at the screening the reaction condition. Reaction really worked fantastic. So as you can see here, the last entry here is most satisfactory, in which 10 mole percent of ruthenium catalyst at 120 degrees centigrade, you could get the corresponding product in almost 92% yield, and that is what the story begins with. And we took the crystal structure, and the reaction has been stabilized with number of substrates, and reaction indeed is versatile and shows an excellent substrate score. Now, having done that, we have also used several acrylates. For example, in addition to what you have ethyl acetate, whatever you see here, you can see most of these things extremely work very well. And you can see the substrate slope here at the last column. It looks very exciting. You need to have varieties of functional groups over there, and yields are pretty good. And application of the method, as I told you earlier, the product what we obtained here, the middle one, in which the fourth position alkylated product is there, and that can be converted very nicely. We have done this. We got the cyclic product in 68% yield, and similarly reduction in PDC gives this reduced product, as well as we can knock off the aldehyde at the second position. The third position, we can have this product as well. So that is what we have shown. Now that brings to the last topic of my research. We have recently published these two papers in Organic Letters. Right now they are in print. I think they have maybe the last issue. We have published two back-to-back papers in Organic Letters. We did two reactions. We were already using all these alpha-beta unsaturated ketones, esters, and so on and so forth. And here we started looking at melimides, which are also very, very important. You can give a product like this, and general reactivity of the melimide is not that great. A variety of bases and acids have been used to make the corresponding compound. So therefore we call it ruthenium catalyzed CH activation, site selective Michael addition of CH bond. Here what happened was, we did not get the alkylation. In this reaction we started getting the Michael bonds. So then we did some theory also, and we also we figured out a lot of transition states. We freeze a lot of transition states. We could get hold of the mechanism. That's what we have done. As you expected, you would be expecting based on the reactions I explained so far, the reactions with melamine, for example, acetophenone should form the corresponding alkylated product like what you have seen, but it did not form that. Instead of that, it formed the Michael adduct like this. So similarly, when we use indole, then R groups are different, functional groups are there, let us look into that. The melamine, instead of giving the alkylated product at there, it has given the Michael addition. We call it hydroorylation, the hydroorylation product at the second position. So these are the things what we have done. To recap, what I explained so far here. So selectivity, this metal, functional groups, all these known to introduce over there, and overcome selectivity issues, use the directing group. This is what the recap is that we have explained to you second and fourth position. Now, here what he did was, he started looking at this reaction, whether he can exclusively do over there. He has used the melamine, and using under the Rutherford catalyst condition, he got an excellent yield of this product, which he has shown here in the entry 8. We got 96% or 90% isolated yield. And indeed reaction is very versatile, and we can use it for several substrates. And then, while Kiran was doing that, Viranjana independently continued with the effort and did the same reaction with his own system, but here of course results are very encouraging. And I hope you can see that. If you cannot see, I can read out for you. There is 84% yield, not validity. So there is 85% current is not coming properly, and conditions are very well set, and it runs for the conditions. So this is the mechanistic proposal we did. We did lot of theory also. This is some of the transition states we have frozen, and at the end of the day, we came to a conclusion that, the reaction as usual go through this kind of cycle. We can see that go through that metalla cycle, and some of the transition states have been isolated. And melamine and meliate also work here, as you can see here. The melamine and acrylate, few of the acrylates also exemplified in the last field, the standard conditions. We got the corresponding acrylates also. So important for succinamides, as I told you earlier, there are very useful acrylates which you can see over there. And what we have, the product can be manipulated to variety of products according to our wish. So what I have shown you so far, probably I am trying to end my lecture maybe 15 minutes early. So what I have shown so far is, this is what we have done CS functionalization earlier stages using metals and non-metals and phosphorylation. So wait time here. So phosphorylations I have shown, and I have shown you the strength of the directing group chemistry, where we can nicely alkylate and also do a hydroorylation using this product. This is what I have shown you the last time. So I have several motivated research kits working with me, and the names are highlighted in green, who has represented some of the work being done here. We have a lot more work than this. But this is only part of the CH. He is Dr. Alagiri, who is assistant professor at IISER Trivandrum right now. This is Dr. Manjunath Lamani, who is working with KC Nicolau. This is Ravi Kumar, who is doing his PhD in Korea, and Pradeep Devadi, who did his masters from Karnataka University. He is in Czechoslovakia doing his PhD. He is Dinesh and Viranjana, who are going to submit their thesis shortly. And this is Kiran, and this is Karthik. So these are the people contributed very well, and money comes from IASC, SCRB, that is DST, and CSIR, AMREP, and few chemical companies like Oral Fine Chem, FMC. So this is how IASC looks at 3rd of March, where we go and look at the main building that has been highly decorated. And this picture from the organic chemistry top, the main building, IASC is not as green as Mangalore, but we have good vegetation across, that is spread across 500 acres. I thank you for your patience. Before concluding talk, I would like to at least see few of you at the organic chemistry department this year interviewing. That is very, very important. The take home message is that making or breaking, like CH functionalization, it is not no functional group is necessary. You have to work very hard. No substitution perfect. Work very hard, and it is not very, very difficult to do. You ask Jundapa, he will tell you. Dr. Vishalakshi can tell you that they have both gone through all those things. And I would appreciate that at least few of you will come and stand over there, and that would be the best thing can happen. I wish you all the best. Read well, study well, understand the concept, and don't ever think those interviews are difficult. Not only IISc, you can go to ISERS, you can go to IITs, and they are all pretty good places, and some of the CSIR labs. And please keep in your mind, look big. Don't